Okay, do you want to know why you're not getting promoted? Even if you're awesome at your job and a high performer, I've got something tough to tell you. It's because nobody likes you. Well, at least not the people that matter. And I don't mean your coworkers, they don't like you. I mean the people with decision-making power. They don't even know you exist. I'm Rob. I am a former corporate HR professional that's worked at some amazing companies throughout my career, and I'm on a mission to share what I've learned at those places with you in hopes that you can land your dream job, get that promotion, or just survive corporate America. So today, we're not talking about your performance. In this video, I'm talking about your visibility. So let's break that down and help you get that next promotion. Okay, so we have been told time and again, I can hear my dad in my head, if you work hard and you're loyal, you will get promoted. I got to tell you, in corporate America, it doesn't work that way. There's another component to this equation that is critical to you getting promoted, and that is visibility. We've seen this movie before where the org announcement comes out saying so-and-so got promoted and everybody congratulate them. And everybody behind the scenes is going, how the hell did that person get promoted? I've got a couple examples. I was working in this organization and this person was vying for the top job of the organization, the CEO role. And what they did, and they did it well, they sucked up to the board of directors. And I would argue that the other candidate in this equation was wildly qualified, but did not have the opportunity to have as much face time or exposure to the board of directors, specifically the board president. So this other candidate did, who, in my opinion, was not as qualified, was not as good of a leader, wasn't strategic. That person still got promoted because she was there at the right place at the right time. And in that room, when they were making a decision about who was going to lead that organization in the future, there was only one answer. This other person, no matter how qualified, how more qualified they were, didn't have a prayer. Another one comes to mind where a peer of mine was playing the game, right? They were always visible. They were in the inner circle of leaders in the organization. They always showed up. They said the right things in meetings. Were they the most qualified? That's debatable, but they still got promoted more rapidly than, say, some other people who were even more qualified, brought more to the table. So again, they were in the right place at the right time and had that advocacy, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. But your skills or what, and your technical expertise about your role or whatever it is, those are expected. What's not expected and what you really have to focus on is that visibility. And it's a cliche, but getting that promotion, getting that job is largely about who you know. And you can say, well, Rob, that's not fair. Okay, it isn't. Maybe you're right, but that's the way it is. And better to play the game and get promoted than to sit there and say, well, I'm not going to play this game. I'm just going to wait till somebody taps me on the shoulder. You're going to be waiting a long time. We have seen this movie before. How is it that arguably the most clueless person in the organization seems to keep getting promoted time and again? And you're like, how the hell does that happen? They're not smarter. They're just more visible. They show up, they play the game, even if they don't realize it. Maybe they set out, they're just going to be that, okay, I'm going to say it, brown noser, right? And that works for them. Some people like that and they're visible. And so in those session planning meetings, their name comes up. That's why they're getting those roles. A former mentor of mine told me once that a lot of people who seem to have all the answers and stuff, they just have better access to information than say I did in that equation. Right? And that's a function of them being more visible, more present to glean that information from other people. And that's how they get it. Me sitting in my office waiting for somebody to come share something with me was not doing me any favors. I wasn't getting that extra information that would have given me that leg up. I could either sit in my office, be that expert in my field, in my role, but I still needed to add in that going out, meeting people, doing the stuff I really didn't like because, and we'll talk about it in a minute, because I'm an introvert, right? And I know you're probably looking at this going, he's not an introvert. He's on camera. He's on YouTube. Yeah, but I am an introvert at the end of the day. So I had to get out of my comfort zone to start advocating for myself. because I had a visibility problem or I had a buzz problem. When I say buzz, is what's the buzz about me? What are people saying about me in the organization? You could have good buzz, which people are talking positively about you. Multiple people are talking about you. You could have bad buzz, which is the opposite, right? They're talking about, oh gosh, that guy's a fuck up or whatever it is. Or you could have no buzz, which I would argue is the worst because nobody's talking about you and nobody knows you exist. So when it comes time for promotion or an opening that you could be perfect for, your name isn't even on the table because nobody knows your name. Ask yourself, can your boss's boss even pronounce your last name or know what your last name is? Okay, if it's Smith, fine, they can pronounce it. My last name, they can't unless they know me and I've corrected them on how to say it. If you're not visible to people that are 2 levels above you, you don't exist in those promotion discussions. And when I'm talking about promotions, it could be one-on-one, it could be formal succession planning conversations or talent planning, all of those types of things. What you want in those meetings is you want people to be advocating for you when you're not even in the room. And it's even better if you have multiple people saying it. So you've got your boss there advocating for you. You've got this one over here. You've got that one over there. And they're all saying wonderful things about you. Suddenly you're getting slotted into those promotional places and your career is off. The other people that aren't putting the effort in to get to know people or anything like that, they are sitting there at the bottom of that list and they're not getting the promotions, at least not as quickly as, say, people that are actually putting that effort in. So put in the hours, make a deliberate plan to get to know the key people in your organization, people in field or even remote work roles. You've even got a bigger uphill battle to gain that visibility because you're not present. Think about somebody on my team, right? I was once in a talent discussion. We were talking about my team and we were talking about, moving people around into different roles. We had some promotional openings ready and we were discussing as a leadership team. I wanted to put up Roger on my team. I was a huge fan of Roger, a big supporter. I'm still a huge fan. What I heard around the table was, well, I don't know Roger, so I can't support this decision. Okay. His role was out in the field, so he wasn't in corporate headquarters every day. So whenever he came in for a meeting, in fact, my whole team was told this, you get in front of key people. You know you're coming in at this date. You start getting on people's calendars and you're going to go meet this person, meet and greets, all the things so that next time I'm in a talent discussion, they can't sit across me of saying, well, I don't know who Roger is. Yeah, you do. You met him. And you learned more about him and he learned more about you. So now what else do you have? What other barrier do you have for putting him or advocating for him in this role? So those people in those remote or field positions definitely have to put more effort forward. If I think about my time at Frito-Lay, leaders would go out and do these kind of road shows and everything. So if you've got leaders coming to your location, seize that moment. And it's a balance too. You don't want to be that, look at me, here's my shiny stuff and all the great things I did, right? You want to be thoughtful about how you showcase and how you interact with these folks because everybody's trying to do that when they're visiting you. But if you're thoughtful about it and get on their calendar and saying, hey, Michelle, I know you're coming to town. I really am looking forward to your visit. I want to showcase what I've done with my team, right? Make it about your team, not always about you. When they're back at the office, they're in these talent meetings and, hey, Roger's name comes up. Well, I had a great visit with Roger when I was out at his location. That's gold from getting them to talk about you and advocate for you when you're not even in the room. So be deliberate about who you meet with. A mentor of mine once told me, every time you meet with a leader or somebody else in the organization who's a key decision maker, at the end of that conversation, obviously thank them for their time, all of that stuff, but ask them, hey, you know what? I'm really trying to network and really create a good, solid internal network. Who else do you recommend that I meet with? And even have them make an introduction for you. You walk into that meeting on the coattails of that other meeting you had with that other leader, and it just seems effortless and you can get right down to learning about each other. Again, promotions happen behind closed doors. You need that advocacy, like I said before, for multiple people, and you need to build a strong internal brand. People don't promote strangers. They promote people they've heard about, they trust, And once you have those components and that foundation laid, the rest just kind of seamlessly flows from there. A question to ask yourself is your direct manager advocating for you? What are they saying, right? Ask them saying, hey, when you're in those people planning meetings, what are you saying? What's the talk track on me? Is there anything I need to work on that's coming up in those meetings? Don't wait for them to come bring it to you. Ask those thoughtful questions so that you can be working on that. And if somebody says, hey, what has Rob done to develop himself? That answer just flows effortlessly from your leader's lips. That goal is for you to have multiple leaders around that table advocating for you and saying, yes, Rob would be the perfect person for that job. Are the people above you even aware of any wins you've had? Sometimes your boss isn't advocating for you. Maybe that boss has a huge team and for some reason they're just not advocating as best they can for you. So how are you going to make sure that the leaders above them know about all of your wins? Keep a brag file. Think about your elevator speech, but it's a balancing act. You don't want to bombard a leader with all this information. I had multiple stories during my time at Starbucks, even experienced it myself once, was Howard Schultz. He founded Starbucks, right? And he was the CEO for many, many, many years, multiple times even. And he would find himself in line at the Starbucks on the 8th floor of the corporate headquarters. And whoever was around him, he'd start asking them, hey, what are you working on? If you didn't have something at the ready, that's not going to go well. Part of that conversation was, which department do you work in? Who's your boss? That type of stuff. So again, if you have something at the ready and saying, oh my gosh, we're working on this project, here's how it's impacting the business, we're really excited. All of a sudden, it's a great interaction. And now Howard is saying something nice about you, or have that at the ready, practice it, make sure you're talking about it authentically and with excitement and pride. So when you do talk to those senior leaders, they walk away going, wow, I'm so glad that person has an employee, and what else can we do with them? You need to not only think about your direct manager, but 2 levels up from them. Are they aware of you? Like I said, aware of your wins. If you're networking, and I think this is important, I don't want to discount this, but if you're networking with only people at your level, okay, it's great. You can learn things about other people and everything, but that's not going to get you promoted. That's not going to add to the talk track or your buzz in that room when people planning conversations are going on. I've heard people say, and I've seen it in comments and that type of stuff, and I've even wrestled with this, is I don't want to feel like I'm sucking up. I don't want to be a brown noser or whatever it is. Okay, keep that in the forefront of your mind so you won't come off that way. Be smart about who sees your work. It's really important. And again, we all know those people and leaders. I've had people network with me that come off very, oh, I'm just here sucking up to Rob because he's going to have an opening, blah, blah, blah. You know what? The best time to network with people is when there's not an opening, right? You're not just talking to them because you want that job. You're talking to them because you want to get to know them better and you want them to know you better. So network with people absent an opening, and I promise you, your name will come up on a short list when there is that opening coming up. And you never know. Just because a job's not posted doesn't mean that leader's like, okay, I know I'm going to have some churn on my team and I'm looking for somebody. And then you happen to appear in their door and have a great connection with them. And suddenly you're on their list of people that they want to import to their team. Even if you're new to your current role, you're getting to understand the business better just by meeting with key leaders throughout the different functions of your organization. It's super important to start right away, but balance it. You don't need to fill up your calendar with all these meet and greets. Maybe it's 1 a month, maybe it's 2 a month, or whatever feels right. Keep it as a priority on your to-do list, because if you start letting it slide, suddenly 6 months goes by and you haven't had a good connection with another leader in the organization. The other ways you can get some visibility, and the first one, it almost pains me to say, but I do think you need to be thoughtful about it, right? Now, we've all been to, and I'm having PTSD from some of them, but to a town hall, right? So everybody goes into the auditorium, and then you've got the senior leaders, up on stage, regaling you with the priorities of the business. And then it comes time for the open mic, the open questions from the audience. So either, the people are queuing up at the mic stand, or they're passing microphones awkwardly around, right? We've all been there. Do you want to be that person that grabs the microphone? I will never be that person. I don't even like sitting toward the front. I'm going to be in the back because that's my comfort zone. Is that the wrong attitude to take? Probably, but I know it's not my jam to get up in front of a bunch of people like that and ask a question. Now, we also know those other people, right? They've got their hand up. They're like the first one out of the gate, and they're always asking some complex, maybe thoughtful question, and we know why they're doing it. And you don't want to be that person, because then the question is not what you're asking is not what people are talking about, is the fact that you're getting up there just for visibility, and it seems really authentic and it falls flat. So think about that too. If you have a thoughtful question and you're comfortable in that environment, by all means, grab the mic, ask the question. If you're not, there are other ways to accomplish it, right? You could volunteer for, say a cross-functional committee or a project or something like that. Don't always wait to be tapped on the shoulder for those types of developmental assignments. Ask for them, saying, hey, I'm really doing all this stuff well. I'd really benefit from my personal development if I could be put on one of these cross-functional or what have you, committees or teams or projects, whatever. Ask for it. Don't wait to be tapped on the shoulder. Ask for a mentor. And by doing meet and greets with key leaders around the organization, you might really hit it off with somebody and you say, hey, can you be my mentor, right? Sometimes they'll have the bandwidth to take you on. Other times they won't, but they may refer you to somebody, right? But really be thoughtful about, getting a mentor, but being thoughtful about who the mentor is for you. Really be thoughtful and speak up about what your needs are from a mentor. And again, as you're doing meet and greets with people, ask them for their opinion. Hey, who would be a great mentor for me? And you'll be surprised what names start popping up. And soon you'll be connected with somebody that you actually learn a lot from. They learn from you, and it's a great relationship. The other thing, and I'm going to talk about this a little later too, is, think about, is there other ways I can volunteer in the organization to do some different things that could get me some visibility? So think about what you're passionate about. Maybe it's an employee resource group, the charitable arm of the organization. You volunteer for some of those types of things. Or maybe, there's lots of different options there. So think outside the box, and hopefully it aligns with something you're passionate about. That way you're doing it, you're having fun, you feel accomplished, and you're also getting that visibility. So I would also add to this, and a lot of people want to avoid places that have office politics. I'm here to tell you, every organization has office politics. They just don't want to admit it. And if they say in the interview, no, everything's great here, we're not political, they are lying to you. Now, there's different degrees of office politics, but know that every organization, big, small, or somewhere in between, they are going to have office politics. But it doesn't have to mean, politics has a bad connotation. It doesn't have to mean that you're manipulating or you're sucking up to, right? It can be really about the value of that connection. So when you're connecting with that leader, with another key decision maker in the organization, what are you getting out of it? Again, what are they getting from you? And then people don't get promoted because they're the best. They get promoted because they're known and they're trusted. So when you meet with different people, key decision makers in the organization, connecting with them authentically, you're building trust with them, right? And that is going to pay huge dividends down the road for you and your career. I read some comments from some other videos I've watched on this topic, and one of them that stood out repeatedly was, well, high school never ends. Yeah, it's true. It's just a different version of high school, and maybe people have more gray hair or no hair. But it is true, and you can either try to get around it or just ignore it, or you can play the game and not get left behind. If you are known as a constant learner and you're always trying to improve yourself, again, that's a great talk track in one of those people planning or succession planning discussions. So really give that some thought, make it a strategy of yours that you do just as in a normal course of your day, your week, your month, that you're going to get that visibility. You're going to create those meaningful connections. And I promise, good things will come your way pretty quick. You got to think about who you're spending your time with. Who are you seen with? Be thoughtful about that, right? I'm not saying don't have relationships at all levels of the organization, but really be thoughtful about who you're seen with. Maybe you're having lunch with key decision makers, and that's where your connection takes place. Maybe it's not always over in their office for 30 minutes. Maybe it's over lunch, right? So people see that. People take notice. Suddenly that's your buzz. Your buzz starts getting better and better because who you're being seen with. Is it fair? No, but it's a fact. And again, it's about how you play the game will make it feel better for you than if you're just like a bystander watching all these other people do it, and you get annoyed because they're getting their promotions, they're reaping the rewards of those relationships, and you're not, because you chose to stand on the sidelines and not play politics. One person I had dragged down my reputation was a person I hired. I thought she was great. We hit it off right away. I would spend a lot of time with her because she filled my bucket. She made me laugh, all the things. But what I was ignoring was that she wasn't a good performer. She had all this bad buzz, and then suddenly that buzz now was spilling over on me. It snuck up on me, and suddenly that I was being kind of drawn down or dragged down by her bad reputation, and it did negatively impact me. So really put some thought into who you're spending your time with at work. Again, is it fair? No, but it is what it is. Stop being a wallflower. That visibility doesn't happen by accident. I will tell you the story about being at a work function that's like a cocktail party or whatever, and you see the people that effortlessly work the room. I'm getting like hives thinking about doing that because I hate it. It just felt so inauthentic. But those people mastered that almost as an art form and benefited from it. So I had to figure out a way to go do that. And the way I did it was I would go up to somebody I knew, and then they would introduce me. Sometimes I'd ask them to do that beforehand, but that's how I would gain my in. So I didn't have to go in and say, "Hi, my name's Rob," and then have this awkward back and forth until we started a conversation. I had an in on with somebody else. So that felt authentic to me. Cocktail parties don't always present themselves, but when was the last time you volunteered for a project outside of your job description? And I can hear people in the comments right now, "Well, Rob, that's, it's not my job. I don't get paid to volunteer for projects or anything like that." Okay. No argument there. You probably don't get paid to volunteer for a project or whatever it is that's not written in your job description. But I bet you're not getting promoted, at least not as quickly as you would if you did, go above and beyond and get that visibility through volunteering for different projects or what have you. Have you ever taken a risk that made you visible, even if you could fail? That's a great story, right? And I think back to the time I went out on a limb. I saw a need in our HR organization where we weren't doing any development for us as a function. So I planned, I organized, I pitched HR meeting. It's a week long. I had guest speakers, all the things. And could I have fallen flat on my face? Yeah. But I organized it, I landed it, and suddenly that's what people were talking about. And it led directly to me getting a promotion. Think about taking a risk. They notice courage, organizational courage, more than they notice, "Oh, hey, so-and-so got a new certification today. Yay," right? That doesn't stick in people's mind. People taking a risk and having an impact on a business, that stays in their minds. And that's the type of stuff that's going to be talked about in those people planning meetings. Mark my words. I've been in those meetings 100 times. If you like this type of content, please, I would be absolutely honored if you would like and subscribe. But Rob, I'm introverted. I'm too good at my job, or I'm just not political. Okay, let's unpack some of those. Being introverted doesn't mean you have to be invisible. You just have to figure out a way to be visible that is authentic to you and makes you comfortable. So maybe it's the one-on-one meetings. Maybe it's having somebody introduce me to somebody else so I had an in. It felt more organic like that. Working on cross-divisional or cross-team projects, right? You get to work side by side with people, and then your relationships happen as a function of that. If you are introverted, you can still be visible. I'm a living proof that you can do that. What about if you've become too good to promote? They can't move you because you're the only one that knows how to do X, Y, and Z. Okay, how do you get out of that, right? You're now a subject matter expert that if they moved you out of there and had nobody to backfill you right away, things would come crashing down. Well, what about developing somebody else, mentoring somebody else that could be your backfill? Actually, that checks off two boxes. One, you're solving their problem of creating your own backfill, but you're also developing yourself by developing somebody else. you're having an impact on somebody else's success. And that is such a good story to tell, and ask for feedback. I put myself out there in a town hall. How did I come across? Did I come across authentic? Did I come across smart? Was it a good question? Ask for that feedback and then make the course corrections as a result of that feedback as well. That will either increase your good buzz or maintain the positive buzz, the talk track that people are talking about. I've seen other people say, I did everything right. I've done all this stuff. I've gotten the visibility and I'm still overlooked. What are you going to do differently is my question. Are you asking for feedback? And are you taking that feedback and implementing any change, right? And then after you've done that, how are those leaders now? How are you going to reset the talk track so you have better buzz? Because people love a comeback story. You've just got to help narrate it. So again, get the feedback, implement the change, and then close the loop by making sure those decision makers know the changes that you've implemented. I was told I was too good to promote. You need to sit down with your boss and say, look, I am flattered that you feel like I am the linchpin of this organization. You must have me in this role. That is very flattering, and I take pride in my work. Thank you. But being in this role forever doesn't align with my personal aspirations. So how can we put a plan together to get me to where I want to go and still keep the wheels on the bus? Have that thoughtful conversation. I promise you, if you're sitting in your office, in your cube, wherever your desk is, and you're stewing on this and not actually taking any action to have a conversation with your boss, you're going to get frustrated and it's going to start showing. And then suddenly the frustration is what people are talking about, not the fact that you're really good at your job and a high performer. Sometimes you got to leave. You've gotten all you can from an organization. You've done all the things, and maybe that's just not good enough. And the timeline to get to that role doesn't match with your aspirations and the timeline you want for your career. So maybe you do have to leave. People like to see that somebody is nimble and flexible and assimilate into new organizations and still have value. Going to different organizations and get different experiences, maybe outside, having multiple different industries you've worked in is gonna pay off, again, dividends down the road. Get out of your comfort zone. There are different jobs out there. There's lots to learn. Don't have it be a knee-jerk answer or a knee-jerk reaction. Really put some thought into it. Give it a good try at your organization to get that visibility and get that promotion as well. Or maybe run parallel paths. Hey, I'm trying to get the promotion here, but I'm also keeping my eyes open and networking outside the organization in case my dream job just happens to come up. That is a good scenario. You've got options. You've got a plan B. You've got a plan A. Rob, you've been preaching at me for the past 15 minutes about getting visibility and all these things to do, and good things will come. Start small. Ask 1 to 2 people, right? Identify them, get on their calendars, and go have, meet and greets. Go have coffee with them. Start your network there. And again, like I said before, at the end of that meeting, say, hey, thank you for your time. Who should I meet with next? And get on their calendars. Maybe ask for that introduction. So I promise you, you will start to enjoy those meetings. Think about one cross-departmental committee group you can be on. You've got to ask for it. It won't always just be given to you. When I was at Frito-Lay North America, I stepped up and I got elected to a board of one of our employee resource groups. It gave me organic visibility to the top levels of the organization. So senior vice presidents, I suddenly was mingling with them. It was all organic. They just knew who I was. I got promoted as a result of that. I got promoted into one of my most favorite jobs just because I took on this extra role and it was something I was clearly passionate about. It led to bigger and better things, and I didn't really have to do anything but have fun at what I was doing, and I made a positive impression. I had positive buzz with the right people. Think about the meetings you're in. And if you're one of those people like me who attends the meetings, only speaks when spoken to, think about offering something outside of that paradigm. So you're in there and you're like, okay, today I am buttoned up, I'm prepared. I'm going to throw something out there as an idea or a thought starter. One meeting this week or this month, I'm going to speak up. But again, make sure read the room. Make sure you're not sucking all the oxygen out of the room, right? Make sure it is driving the conversation forward. If you're occupying a chair at a conference table and not saying anything, you're not doing yourself any favors. So ask for feedback. Hey, what is the buzz about me? What are people saying? What do I need to work on? And whatever they give you, put into your personal development plan. Go back with people saying, hey, you know what, Michelle, I thought a lot about the feedback you gave me, and here's what I've done. And I just wanted you to know I really appreciate your candor. It's really helped push me forward and overcome some of the things that were holding me back. Make sure you've got something in your back pocket. So should you find yourself in an elevator, cliche as it is, with a senior leader or on the stairs or whatever it is, make sure you've got some stuff right in your hip pocket ready to go. It leaves them going, wow, I'm really impressed with them. I really need to get to know them more. You want multiple advocates talking about you as a key talent in the organization. That will get you promoted faster. Again, you're not invisible. You're just quiet in the wrong places. This is kind of how I would sum up this video. You don't need to be someone you're not. You need to find a way to be visible, but that's true to you and authentic to yourself. The authenticity is so key there. I cannot underscore that more. Suddenly you'll be making lots more friends. You'll be learning about some really cool people, and you'll be that much closer to your next promotion. I hope this has been helpful. And again, my name's Rob. I really would be honored if you would subscribe to my channel. This is a passion project of mine, and I really can help you get to where you want in your career. So until next time, again, please like and subscribe. This video was recorded and produced by Just Talk Studios, the premier video podcasting studio in Bellevue, Washington. Visit justtalkstudios.com to learn more and book your session today.